Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley here for Pinkfresh Studio. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing 3 note cards which feature press plates used in 3 different ways. So I'm going to be featuring this Medallion border press plate from Pinkfresh Studio, and I'm going to be doing some letterpress effects with this, but I'm also going to show you how you can use your press plates to hot foil and to create a stamped look as well. So we're going to start out by removing the Medallion press plate from the packaging, and I'm going to place it onto the chase or this magnetic portion of the base of this BetterPress tool. Now I'm also going to take some Pinkfresh watercolor cardstock, and this is not quite available yet, but it should be coming soon to the Pinkfresh store. And I'm going to line it up onto this clear plate, which is called the platen. And I'll just use a little bit of the tape that comes with the BetterPress system at opposite corners to hold my cardstock in place. Now I want to create an ombre look on this letterpress effect. And so I'm going to be using 2 different colors of Pinkfresh Studio dye inks. These work really lovely with the BetterPress plates and system, but you can also use the BetterPress inks, which are available too. And I'm going to ink up the majority of this plate using Cherry Blossom ink, which is one of my favorite colors of ink from Pinkfresh Studio. Then on this left side, I'm going to come in and add a little bit of begonia ink, and I'm starting at the left side and kind of working my way towards the right, and I'm going to go about 2/3 of the way over. Then I'm bringing back in the Cherry Blossom ink and just kind of tapping that out to kind of blend it. Now I'll take the platen and place it onto the magnetic feet of that chase portion or the base part. And at this point, that platen is actually hovering over the plate. It's not making contact with the plate until I actually put it through my Platinum 6 die cutting machine. Now, when I put it through, it adds pressure, and that plate then comes in contact with the cardstock and presses the ink into the cardstock. Now, this gives that really beautiful letterpress look. It's so easy to do, but I really wanted to darken up some of that Cherry Blossom ink. So I'm coming in and I'm adding more Cherry Blossom ink to my plate, and then I'm going to place the platen back onto the magnetic feet and run that through my Platinum 6 machine again. Now, that magnetic portion will keep the plate in the exact same spot so that I can go over this a couple of times. You just want to make sure that the magnetic mat, which is holding the plate in place, hasn't shifted around. I kind of like to think of it as the mat in my Misty. Sometimes that mat can shift around, but you want to make sure it's always pushed into one corner, and that way you can actually press and repress into the same cardstock in the same position, as long as you're making sure that that magnetic plate that's in that chase portion stays in the same corner. So in this instance, I have it kind of pushed down into the lower right-hand corner. Now I'm going to create several of these borders so that I can create kind of a note card set. And for this, I'm using Sunkissed and Mango Sorbet, although in the finished example, I actually used Peach Fuzz and Apricot. Now for this one here, which I didn't actually create a card with today, I use Limoncello and Bay Leaf, and I'm finishing off my little set of colors here with Sage and Spruce Tips. And this one just might be my favorite of all of them. I'm really loving the greens that are available now in the Pinkfresh Studio color line. This colorway is so beautiful. It has that really almost like spa-like feel to them. So I'm doing the same thing that I've done before. I'm inking up in my lightest color, adding a little bit of that dark color coming in from the left, and then kind of blending out with my little ink cube here towards the center. I have my Pinkfresh Studio watercolor cardstock in place on my platen, and then I'll place the platen onto the magnetic feet of the chase, run that through my Platinum 6 die cutting machine, and I have a beautiful pressed image. Now, the only one I actually pressed twice was that first one using the Cherry Blossom and Begonia ink, but if you feel like you need to kind of re-ink something, you totally can. So now that I've done all my BetterPress letter pressing, I am going to go ahead and clean off my plate using a damp microfiber cloth, and I'm going to take this plate and position it onto my Glimmer hot foil system base here. So this is already heated up off screen, and I've added my plate just like I would a hot foil plate, and I'm setting my timer. And this time, instead of pressing this into the cardstock with ink, I'm going to use this to hot foil. Once my timer is done and that light has stopped blinking in the lower left, I'm going to remove the Glimmer platform from the base, take it over to my Platinum 6, add my foil with the pretty side facing the pattern of my plate here. Then I will add my cardstock. In this case, I'm using the Concord & Ninth white cardstock. I'm adding the 2 shims that come with the Glimmer system and then running that through my Platinum 6 die cutting machine. And you're gonna see I have gorgeous hot foiled results. Now you wanna be careful when foiling with your press plates, because if you accidentally foil the plate itself, you can no longer use it for the BetterPress technique or the Letterpress technique. You will still be able to foil it, but because the foil would be on the surface of the plate, it kind of messes with the coating that's there that kind of helps the ink stick to the plate. So just be careful, follow the rules. Pretty side of the foil always goes towards the pattern and you should be okay. Now I'm going to hot foil a few of the press plate sentiments that are available. I've chosen a few and laid them all on the platform of my Glimmer, and I'm allowing them to heat up. Once my timer has kind of run its course, I'm going to remove the platform from the base and take it over to my Platinum 6. Add my foil with the pretty side facing the pattern of my plate. So there's a little mnemonic for you. Add my 2 shims and then run that through my Platinum 6 die cutting machine. So remember, pretty side of the foil goes towards the pretty pattern of the plate, all the P's. And you can see I have beautiful foiling results once again, and we'll use the coordinating dies to die cut all of these things right now. So I have that medallion border coordinating die, and I'm just gonna line this up on the magnetic mat of my Anna Griffin Empress die cut machine. That magnetic mat helps me keep my dies in place as I run this through my die cut machine. But if you don't have something like that in your die cut machine, you can just use a little bit of repositionable tape to hold those in place while you die cut your images. So you can see that beautifully die cut foiled medallion border there. I have some beautiful die cut foiled sentiments that I also created with press plates. And I'm going to put these all together to create 3 different kinds of cards. Now, one thing I did want to make sure that you know when I'm putting this together is that you can use BetterPress plates or press plates to foil, but you cannot use hot foil plates to BetterPress. So it's a one-way street. Press plates are good for all. You can do it all with them, but the hot foil plates are for hot foil alone. So just make sure you understand that. Now I thought about stacking all these different colors up, but instead I changed my mind and I decided I would make a set of 3 different note cards here and just stack up a foiled border with a colored border. Now for my background, I used the Folk Edge rectangles from Pinkfresh Studio. This is a part of their Essentials line, which includes basic shapes to kind of layer up on your cards, and I absolutely love their Essentials line. So I die cut that from some ivory cardstock, and now I'm going to show you the 3rd way to use press plates, and that's to kind of stamp with them. So because I am doing this technique on a standard cardstock, I'm not going to get that deep pressed in image that I would when I'm using either the BetterPress cotton cardstock or the Pinkfresh Studio watercolor cardstock. This is a standard cardstock. I can still stamp my image on the surface, but it won't have that pressed in or debossed look. So this is technique number 3. I'm going to do it the same way that I do the BetterPress Letterpress technique, but I'm just going to do it with a different style of cardstock. Remember, cardstock always matters when you're crafting. We like to think of it as kind of a last thought kind of thing, but it really does make a difference when you're trying out different techniques. If you're not getting the results you're looking for, chances are you may not be using the right cardstock for the job. And that's why when you're hot foiling, when you're stamping, when you're watercoloring, keep in mind that your paper really is an important part of the process. Now, I used that roses press plate to create a design on this card front. I actually don't end up using it in the finished card project, but I wanted to show you this technique, and so I left this in here. I'm stacking up my BetterPress kind of pink version of this medallion border on top of a foiled version, and I'm using a little bit of foam adhesive between the two layers to create some dimension. And then I'm going to add the You're the Best sentiment with a little bit of foam adhesive right in the center of that medallion border that has that ink pressed into it. So I have a little bit of dimension going on here. Then I'll take this entire stacked up border, I'll adhere it on to this folk edge rectangle that I've die cut and pressed, and I'll trim off the excess. Now I'm leaving this in here, as I mentioned before, so that you can see that you can actually stamp with your press plates as well. If you use a standard cardstock, you can still transfer that image or stamp that image onto the cardstock, but keep in mind, you're not going to get the same dimension as you would when you're using a cottony or watercolor cardstock. So I kind of shifted gears here and I decided instead of the roses, I wanted to use this Curvy Leaves die cut here. This is from Pinkfresh Studio. I've die cut it from some vellum. I actually ripped this one. So I'm adhering it in two different pieces using a little bit of liquid glue right onto that folk edge rectangle. I obviously cut a new one because it doesn't have the roses on it. And once I have that glued in place, I am going to mat this on some matte gold cardstock. I've cut it just very slightly larger than the folk edge rectangle that I've die cut here. And then I can just add my medallion border stack here right over the top, just going over the top of those vellum leaves and everything. I think this is such a sophisticated kind of stationery inspired design, and it would be really fun to make a whole rainbow of these note cards to give to somebody as a gift. I've added that card front onto a white A2 size card base using some foam adhesive so there's a little more dimension, and I'm finishing off each of these colorways with 2 of the champagne glitter drops on either side of the sentiment just to add a little bit more shine. Now, because I didn't actually use the stamped portion on the card front, I thought I would show you another fun way to kind of stamp with your BetterPress plates and use it on your card design. So I have the thank you sentiment here. This is a press plate from the Favorite Things Sentiment Press Plate set. I'm inking it up with a little begonia ink, and once again, I'm using that ivory cardstock. So I'm stamping, I'm not actually pressing, but I'm gonna use the same process that I do when I'm pressing. I've inked it up with the begonia ink, and I've added my ivory cardstock to the platen, held it in place with a little bit of repositionable tape, and then I'm running that through my Platinum 6 die cut machine, and then I have a beautiful stamped thank you that I can add to the inside of my card design instead. So I die cut it out using the coordinating die, and I'm just using a little liquid glue and my reverse tweezers from Pinkfresh Studio to place that on the inside of my card. You could place this on the outside as well. I just thought it was a fun way to use a stamped version of a press plate on these card projects. So there you have it, 3 beautiful stationery inspired note cards featuring 3 ways to use your press plates. We have the letterpress technique, we have foiling, and we have stamping, all with press plates. I think these are so versatile and so much fun to use, and the detail that you get with press plates is unlike any other. Now let me know in the comments below which of these 3 colorways is your absolute favorite. I switched out that orange one to be peach fuzz and apricot to kind of go with the Pantone color of the year, but we have kind of the pinks, the peaches, and the greens in today's cards. As always, I will have links to the featured products used in these projects in the description at YouTube, so if you're looking for anything in particular, be sure you check there. I want to say thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed these projects, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications here so you don't miss any of the paper crafting and card making video tutorials shared. As always, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.